I am the EntreMusician, and so are you, and so is Mr. Jasper. Chris Jasper, the icon, sitting to the left of your screen. Go back and check out part one of this conversation. You're going to learn absolutely a lot, things you didn't know about the Isley Brothers sound. He's one of the architects. But before we get back into it, let's do this. As you know, all of our videos are sponsored by the great people at Vocal, which is the only beverage on the planet designed to soothe, refresh, and restore your voice. If you talk all day or sing all night, you definitely have to get Vocal. Go to drinkvocal.com to learn more. Now, as I said, part one of our video conversation with Mr. Chris Jasper, is one of the incredible architects of the Isley Brothers sound, but also an incredible songwriter in his own right. 15 stellar albums to date, solo albums, all his. You got to check him out at chrisjasper.com. He's on Facebook, Twitter. You can get him everywhere. He's absolutely accessible, and he's dropping gems today. If you can say gold records and platinum records, you can say Chris Jasper, because that's what he brought to this industry as a pioneer in the early 70s. Thank you so much for joining me again, sir.
Yeah, my pleasure, man.
So, Gold City Records. Now, I have to do a tie-in as a bridge between the Isley Brothers and your solo work, because there was the Isley Jasper Isley period in the middle of that. But what we understand is that T-Neck Records was an independent label. That was an Isley Brothers imprint. Is that right?
Right. That was a label, but it was distributed by CBS Records.
Yes. Yes,
yeah,
sir.
They were a distributor. Yeah.
But they had the T-Neck the imprint.
They had the label on. Yeah, that's what you saw on the label there.
Absolutely. So that gave you the impetus to start your own label, and that's what Gold City is right now, right?
Yeah, right. That's my own independent label, right?
And you've produced other artists under Gold City as well.
I have. One artist was Liz Hogue. She had an album out. There was a gospel group out front, and then Brothers by Choice.
Brothers by Choice, yeah.
And then my own son Michael, he had an album come out on Gold City too.
Now, Michael, is he the gentleman that just got his degree in law?
Yes.
Excellent.
He's my youngest son, and he just got admitted to the bar here in New York. So very proud of him.
Okay, so he's not a music business attorney though, huh?
Well, yeah, he will be doing that. Yeah, he'll be doing that. Some other things too. He's going to work along with my wife too. She's a lawyer.
Excellent.
And, he's a very bright kid. He's actually my technical person too. He does a lot of, my rhythm tracks.
All right.
And to my solo projects. And anything that I'm working with computers, I need his help most of the time. so he works closely with me too.
Oh, that's very cool. So you and quote unquote Sweet Margie, because you wrote a beautiful song about her, your wife. How many children do you have?
We have 3 boys. Three sons, and they're great guys. We're very proud of them.
All musical, all musicians, or no?
No. Nick is an artist. He does, graphic arts, and he's paints and does all that kind of stuff, animation. He's into that. And Christopher, my oldest son, he's still in the armed forces. He's in the Army.
I see.
And, but they're all, good men. You know what I mean? And we're proud of all of them.
That's excellent. That's excellent. So with regard to the Isley Jasper Isley period, that was 3 or 4 albums. I can't remember.
3. Those
3 albums.
3 albums.
And so moving from that into the solo space, one thing that is very, very evident and obvious is you put your faith on Front Street with your writing. And there was a little bit of that going on, just going back to the lyrics of Caravan of Love and some other Isley Jasper Isley cuts. But you really stepped out into the forefront and say, hey, yo, this is who I am. This is what I believe. And it has worked well. It has served you well. Would you want to comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, that's something that kind of started to develop more in me when I wrote Caravan of Love. I was starting to learn more about, the meaning of the scriptures, how they apply to everyday life and things like that. My understanding started to increase. And when I wrote Caravan, it was based on the scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that song is based on. People coming together, the young and the old, living in a world of peace. All those things come from the Bible.
Yeah.
And so that's who I am. That's who I am. That's part of me. I'm a follower of Christ. Yeah. And first. Yes, so that's why my lyrics after Isley, Jasper, Isley, even though they're not scripturally based, it might be a secular song, but it's still going to be consistent with God's message.
Absolutely.
Monogamy, even if it's a love song.
Yes, sir.
Marriage.
Well, the Songs of Solomon in the Bible, in the scriptures,
yes,
celebrates love, celebrates monogamy.
That's right. So, it's whatever I say, I'm very conscious of it, and it must be consistent with God's word.
Excellent.
So no matter what, if it's a funk song, it's still going to be consistent. I'm not going to go outside of those parameters.
Absolutely. Well, 15 albums. And so what is it? Take us through the process. Now, the latest one, Dance With Me. And this is one thing I noticed. I got to put this in here is because I noticed that as I was going through your solo material, that musically, it seemed to have a theme. There were some that were like a little more of a funk vibe than others. Others were more romantically laced. With Dance With Me, it seems to be more of a laid back, chill out project. Was that intentional, or that's just where you were at the time?
Yeah, I think it was kind of where I was at the time. I had these ideas, and it's like over the years, what I've learned is that if you have a good idea, work on it. Don't try to predetermine what you're going to come up with. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes people make that mistake. They try to say, all right, I'm going to record a song, in this genre, and trying to tailor it to something that's already been out.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
mean? And sometimes you'll miss the boat doing that, because the most honest, I feel, and the best material comes from an artist that's being honest with themselves. You know what I mean? The honesty has to be there. And if I come up with ideas that are, mostly ballads, that's what I'm going to record, right? If I come up with, if they're mostly up-tempo or funk, I'm going to record them, as long as they're good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't try to predetermine what I'm going to record, unless it's a cover.
I see, yeah.
Now, if I'm going to do a cover, I'm going to approach it, a different way. I don't want to miss a thing that's on this album, on Dance With You album, and it's it's a ballad. I think it was done before, and
the rock group did it.
The rock group did it, yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Aerosmith?
Yeah, Aerosmith.
Aerosmith, yeah. And my wife liked the song, and she said, well, why don't you do, a cover that you've arranged different covers, So I said, okay, I'll give it a shot, and I'll approach that in a definite way, try to make it my kind of treatment to it, but other ideas that just come to me, I just let them flow, and like you mentioned Sweet Margie, that came to me like, the melody just came to me one day, and just said, hey, that sounds good. And I went down to the piano. I said, Marge, come over here. I want to play something for you, And I just said, what do you think about this? No one like Sweet Margie. And I played it for her. She said, oh, yeah, that's pretty, I said, yeah, I'm going to keep working on that, So, it's songwriting is funny. It's something that I do believe that's an innate talent, too. I really do. Because you can study, composition and songwriting, but to actually have a knack for it, you know what I mean, to know where to go with your melodies and where to go with your lyrics. I don't think you can teach that.
That's true.
I think
That's
it's something
true.
it's something I think it's something you can develop over time, you know.
Yeah.
But it's just something that I think is innate too.
It's an amazing tightrope because, you know, I've read several articles, and I read one of late, uh, but it was talking mostly it was geared toward writers who, you know, who are writers for a living. They're not artists, and that they should write every day, and that, you know, there's a discipline to writing, even if they're writing quote unquote crap, because crap makes good fertilizer, because if you keep writing, a good idea is going to come from that. But I think that there's as an artist, when you're writing, it's much more organic than when you're saying, okay, I'm going to be like a Celine Dion, who's a hit making machine, and it's going to go from that artist to that artist because they need a hit. You know what I mean? But I agree with you that, you know, when you're coming from a place where you want to say, okay, this is who I am, this is the essence of what makes Chris Jasper himself, it can't be manufactured. You can't pull it down from a shelf.
Yeah, it's got to be there. You know, it's got to be there within you. And it's kind of how Caravan was. It's like, you know, I was, you know, fooling around with the guitar, and I hit a nice riff, you know, the A section, you know, but, you know, I said, it's got to be soulful, you know, and it's got to say something, you know.
Absolutely.
And I'm so glad that I wrote the song, because it connected with so many people around the world.
Absolutely.
You know? There's people all over the world singing that song.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was covered internationally.
The House Martins, they did an a cappella version, you know, like really fast after our song had hit, you know, and I was like, wow, did somebody covered it already? You know, and then it was a big hit up in Europe, you know, and people all over the world singing that message. And it's a beautiful message, you know, in that song.
Absolutely.
And that really, you know, like when I first wrote it, I knew it was something good, but I never thought it would be that well liked, and so many people would, you know, connect with it. You know what I mean? But I did want to say something like that to draw attention to what the solution could possibly be. You know, join the caravan of love. You know, let love be the thing that centers your life. You know.
Yeah. It was like 10 years after, and my math may be off, but remember the OJs did the same thing with Love Train. Blew up. I mean, love is so universal.
Join hands.
Join hands. I mean, everybody wants to be loved, man. Everybody. And so if you get on that caravan, come on. I'm your brother, don't you know?
Yeah, it seems like a very, very simple solution. You know, it seems very simple, but that is the way. I mean, show somebody love. I have another song on this album called "Show Somebody Love."
Yeah,
and you know, it says we're all in this together. Why can't we find the way to peace? Inside, we have the answer. Not far away beyond our reach. That's right. You know what I mean? Step up, show somebody love. You know, it really sounds like a simple solution, but it is the solution.
It is.
You know what I mean? It is the solution. You know, Christ said, "Love thy neighbor as thyself."
That's right.
You know, it's the solution. It's just, do you believe it? You know, do you believe that that's the solution? You know, people act on what they believe.
Definitely.
That's one way you can find if a person is authentic or not. Do they act on what they believe, or they act another way? Do they say one thing and act another way? You see what I mean? You'll find out what a person truly believes on how they behave, how they act.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Hey, that's your next song right there.
We wrote a lot of them on that theme.
Absolutely. Now, so I'm taking you back a minute. I mean, you know, because I value your time. I appreciate this second segment. But with the Brothers by Choice and the other groups that you've produced on your label, I want to bring you out something to show you how much of a fan I was back when the Isley Brothers were hot. And I want you to tell me a little bit about, what was this about?
So that was our backup band, actually.
Is that right?
Yeah, that was the guys who would play behind us on stage. They had a group called Sunrise.
Yeah.
Everett Collins.
Yeah.
The bars of college. We met Everett in college, and he stayed with us as our drummer on stage, and later on keyboards. Tony Herbert, he was a bass player. We went to school with Tony too. So they were longtime friends, and people that backed us up on stage. They had some songs, and we said, hey man, some of them really sounded good. Let's work them out, So we kind of, produced their album, and they wrote the songs,
I see. So Who's Sticking It was like one of the, that was like the funk.
That was their first single, yeah. That was the first single, and like I said, we gave it a shot,
Absolutely. So tell me this: you were born in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm here in Youngstown, and so I think, and I've been in many a dialogue with other musicians. I think that Ohio is the funkiest state in the union.
Yeah, it seems to be. Of all the groups that came from Ohio, it seems to be. I don't know why, but that seems to be the case.
Definitely. And they, even when they were talking, late 90s, early 2000s about the West Coast funk, well, the West Coast funk was really based off of Roger Troutman. You know what I mean? And he flew out there and he really boom. So it was still an Ohio connection.
Hey man, Ohio produced some of the funkiest bands, and I don't know what it is. I think maybe somebody will do a study on it one day. I don't know, but I know one thing: the Funk Museum is in Dayton, Ohio.
Absolutely. So, we plan on going this summer. We will be down there this summer. Yeah, absolutely.
Go there and check it out. Yeah, I donated something. I think an outfit there, or something of mine is in there.
Excellent.
But, yeah. It's in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah. So Youngstown, Cincinnati, that Toledo vibe, man. Down there, the Ohio players, right there in that Kentucky-Ohio line.
I'm telling you, the funky place, man. Yeah.
Without fail. Now, so how active are you in your church with respect to music? I mean, is that something, or do you just pretty much participate, but not or not participating?
I've done special music, in church, many times. But I've kind of lost touch with the church I used to go to. But I think my calling is to put God's principles in my music. Because I am, people do know me. They know my music. They know, my involvement, and when I do something like I put a song on this album. It's a miracle. It's about all the miracles that Christ did.
Good song, man. That's a good song.
People hear, they get the message. I think that's what my calling is, to put God's word in my music. Put His principles in my music, so people will know, hey, you can live in the world, be in the world but not be of the world. You can live God's way in this world and not, compromise your principles.
Definitely.
You can do that, and if I can be effective at all in doing it, I would be very happy,
I believe you're being effective. I mean, the music is very groovy. It's like gravy. You can pour it on anything that you're going through, and a Chris Jasper tune just cuts right through, man. It just makes it delicious. Makes you want to sop it. For sure. Yeah. So, well, that's how our band did. We formed in 2001, and Sound Doctrine. I mean, it had to be based on God. We can go as far out as we want to musically, but the bedrock is the doctrine. You know what I'm saying? And just keep it on point. So grateful, and grateful to have a kindred spirit with you. We share the same faith, and I'm grateful for the time that you were able to give me. Now I have a couple more questions, because you've been sampled by just about everybody. Ohio. I shouldn't say Ohio players, but Isley Brothers music, especially Between the Sheets. I mean, you can't go anywhere in hip hop where some sort of something is coming from an Isley Brothers riff. How do you feel about your music being such a staple in the mainstream?
You know, I really feel that's I take it as like a compliment, because there's a lot of music out there. You know, people can choose from to sample a lot of good stuff. You know, and for them to sample something that I did so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I really was kind of surprised in a way, because there was a time, you know, I think back in like the early 2000s, you know, when they were like really doing a lot of sampling of our stuff, you know, and even Biggie's record, you know,
Yeah.
I was getting like 2-3 samples a week, you know, and it was like, wow, I mean, you know, it's what, well, they felt that about the music I was doing, you know what I mean? Like the music we were doing. That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's definitely a compliment. I wonder too, you know, talk about a lot of tightropes, but I wonder too, with respect to this generation and the generation that's coming up behind them, you being a composition major, what's happening to the musicality of the artist where, I mean, it's so simple to drop things into Pro Tools right now and just boom, boom, boom. You got this mega library, throw some lyrics on it, whether you're singing or rapping. But to come to a piano and to come to a place, as you said before in the first segment, where there was nothing there, and you sat down and boom.
That's, yeah.
You know, I wonder about that.
Yeah, I think as a society, we've gotten away from, you know, music the way it used to be studied, you know, and performed. I would like to see more people, you know, study music, because it opens up your horizons as far as being a composer. You know, when you're limited, you're only going to produce a certain type of thing. You know what I mean? It's almost like not studying, you know, English very well and only knowing a few words. You know, you're not going to be able to say very much.
It's a great analogy.
You know what I mean? But if you're versed in the language, you know, you can express yourself so much better.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, you can write a novel. You know, you can write poems. You know what I mean? You can do editorials.
Absolutely.
You know, you have a grasp of the language. And as I'm saying, music is a language. It is a way of communicating. And the more versed you are in it, the more you can express.
Absolutely.
You know, like I said, I tell people all the time, there's absolutely no way I could have written the music I've written and done the things with the groups and my solo projects without my musical study. It's impossible.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even been thinking that way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, tell me this. How do you describe then, it's a loaded question, you know, how do you describe, Mr. Chris Jasper, timelessness in music? I mean, when you think about a song, For the Love of You, or Make Me Say It Again, Girl, you know, where in any generation you can put this song on.
Yeah.
How do you describe that?
I think of it in terms of, see, art and you know, when you're creating something, I think the more you try to make it the best you can be, it can be. You know what I mean? If you're very conscious of making it the best it can be, I think the more likely it is to last, you know, to be timeless. You know, for example, like I know Motown was very meticulous too, you know, in what they produced. You know, they were concerned about the quality of the music, you know, and those songs are, you know, Ain't No Mountain High Enough you can play today and it sounds like a hit just like now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean. When you're concerned about the quality of the music that you're producing, it's more likely to be timeless
Yes,
than something that, you know, oh, we're just going to go in there, we're going to just try to put something together, you know, run through it. I mean, all right, and if you're not honestly analyzing what you just did, you know what I mean? Because some people like may be in love with what they do, you know, they're not really objective.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be objective too.
Certainly.
You know what I mean? Like I heard this story about Berry Gordy, how they used to have meetings, and they used to, you know, they used to sit around and say, okay, who likes this song? You know, would you want to have this song or a sandwich? You know what I mean?
Right,
and
right.
That's objectivity. That's objectivity. That's saying, hey, we're not going to put out some garbage out here. We're being objective. And if you can step away from your music and say, listen, I don't care if I did it or not. Is it good? You know, will this stand up, to scrutiny?
Right.
Can I send this to program directors and they say, hey, I like it and not throw it away? You know what I mean? I mean, will it stand that test?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's true too. I always try to be objective, with what I'm doing, and I think that's something you develop too over time. Step away from your music, step away from it. Like I always like to have a little time to just live with it myself. Can I play this a million times and not get sick of it?
Correct.
Things like that. And I think that's one of the things that made that music like that, because we scrutinized the heck out of it. Sometimes, they would be excited about something and I say, no, it's not it. We've got to do another one. Got to do another song or another take, no, sing it like this, sing it like that. It was like always concerned about trying to make it as perfect as it could be. It's nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Sure. But,
you just try to craft it in a way that is, it's the best that it can be. There's nothing else you can do to it, and knowing where it's enough,
where to say that's it.
Some people go too far, knowing where, hey, that's it. Just an example of that. When we did the song "Don't Say Goodnight," Ronald had just finished the vocal, and we weren't mixing. I remember sitting on the couch, just waiting for the engineers to do some technical stuff, and it was on playback. The song was on playback. It wasn't mixed, and I told the engineer, I said, "Okay, run the 2-track." That's what we mixed to. We mixed from 24 down to 2 tracks.
Sure.
And I told him, I said, run the 2-track. I said, okay, we're done. We're done with the song. We didn't even set it up for a mix. But what it sounded like coming out of the speakers was a record.
Yes.
You see, and that's what a producer has to be able to do, is to hear when you're finished.
That's right.
Are you? So that song was finished before we even touched it for a mix. It was right. It sounded right. Then let's finish it, mix it. It's over. Let's go to the next song. Wow. See, so that's something that I find that when I do hear some records, maybe it should have taken a little more time to study it.
Sure.
Analyze it, step back from it. Recording it isn't everything.
That's right.
Recording it is extremely important, but it's not everything.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You got to make sure you got the right product.
That's right. There's the right movement, the right flow, the right elements coming in and out. Yeah. Yeah. So we're wearing all of these hats: composer, producer, arranger, just to.
It's tough on you, but hey man, it keeps you sharp.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It keeps you sharp when hey, I'm responsible for this. You know what I mean? I'm responsible for what comes out of the speaker and what comes eventually on the radio if they play it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you've definitely seen all of the format changes from the radio play to podcast to now, you know, from the downloads to the streaming. I mean, the conversation is now with respect to royalties and what songwriters are getting paid from the Spotify's and whatnot. What's your opinion? Where do you come in to play on that?
Well, I guess technology is good in a way, but in another way, it kind of cut into the, songwriters and publishers and artists' royalties.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And that's never good.
Never.
Maybe someday they'll find a way to correct it and maybe balance it out, through legislation. But for right now, it really cut into an artist and their royalties and what they can earn,
Yeah.
in a negative way. I don't like what I'm seeing from it.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some, litigation going on concerning correcting some of those things, as in particular Spotify and those other trying to get higher rates.
Sure.
But the very fact that they exist still, take away from what artists used to be able to earn on
Absolutely.
their, and songwriters. So I'd like to see that improve even more.
Me too. I mean, I think it's a sad day in the music industry when you see a Smokey Robinson sit before Congress to have to testify about why, songwriters like him need to get paid. I mean, when you write, "Ooh, baby, baby," who's loving you, and you have to sit before Congress, something's wrong with this picture.
Yeah. It's like I said, technology is good in a way because it did help in some of the ways in production of music, in particular. But then, with this aspect that you're bringing up now, it's negative. It's not right. And like I said, maybe enough if enough legislators get together and find a solution to it. That would be good because it needs to happen. It needs to happen because what's going to happen is you're going to get people that feel it's not worth recording, and the music that you're going to get may not be as high quality. You know what I mean?
I do.
So the consumer may end up losing, as well.
Correct.
So, it just so happens that I do a lot myself. I don't need a lot of moving parts to create my music.
Yeah.
It's just me, basically. Right. And when I need the engineer to come in, then he'll come in, but I can do a lot by myself, which
absolutely
there's not a whole lot of people that can do that, and then be their, put their music out themselves and be their own label. They need other support.
Sure.
And that costs money,
mm-hmm.
So the consumer may end up losing out also.
Definitely, big time.
Yeah, because it's not cost effective a lot of times.
Absolutely. Now, I want to thank you again for your time. The wonderful Chris Jasper, gold selling records, platinum selling records, all of the wonderful accolades, not only from your tenure and the contribution that you made to the Isley Brothers and to Isley Jasper Isley, but to your own label, to your own career, and to the many careers of others. What I've tried to do in these two segments is not to ask you the same questions that other interviewers have asked you. However, was there a question that you were hoping that I would ask, or a ground that you thought I should cover and I haven't? Can you address that right now?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot, but I would just like to say to the fans, to the people who are, who will listen to this interview, that I truly do, appreciate the support and over the years, with all the material, with all, with both groups and me solo, because, as a songwriter and composer, that's who I'm trying to reach. I'm trying to reach and communicate with people. And when I see that they appreciate the music the way they do, and I'm on Facebook a lot, and I see and I get their comments, and to those people who are on there who do comment, I appreciate their comments.
Absolutely.
And, I like the connection with people. You know what I mean? I like to see that, hey, this is what they thought about this album or that album or this record. That's important, and just a big thanks to all of them.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you, absolutely, for not only being a pioneer, but staying relevant, staying true to who you are, staying true to the music, staying true to the people who support your music. The fans, the followers, the friends, it's all good, man.
It's all
And
good.
we definitely salute you. We salute you, man. I'm telling you, I am grateful for the opportunity to have had this conversation with you. And I'm looking for even more opportunities down the road as we continue to dialogue. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Chris Jasper. He is the pioneer and one of the architects of the soundtracks of your life. If you're 50-something like me, you know Chris Jasper. God bless you, my friend. Peace and blessings to you. My name is Jere. I'm the EntreMusician, and so are you. We'll see you next time with another great conversation. Take care.
Take care, man.